So let's talk about top 3 vitamin D myths that I have personally encountered during the last 3 years while I struggled with my chronic fatigue. So I used to feel very tired and exhausted. Even mild workout, I would feel like I was dead. I like swimming, for example, and for the longest time I used to do lap swimming 3 to 4 times a week, and I used to feel great. But then about 3 years back, what I started experiencing was severe muscle pain and complete loss of energy. So usually after swimming, I feel invigorated. I feel like, I have a lot of energy and I can go on with the rest of my day. The exact opposite started happening. I would swim and I would be like completely dead. I couldn't even like take shower and then walk out of my gym. I was feeling that exhausted. And so I started consulting my doctors, trying to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. So this was happening 3 years back, and I was in my early 40s. So it's not like I was very old. And after my doctor ran a whole bunch of tests, what we found was that I had severe vitamin D deficiency. And my severe vitamin D deficiency was causing a cascading effect, which was, leading to all kinds of problems. And while I experienced this vitamin D deficiency and when I interacted with multiple doctors, I realized that many doctors here in United States, they either do not fully appreciate the importance of vitamin D, or they are trigger happy to prescribe other kinds of drugs to solve your problem, when something as simple as a vitamin D supplement can fix some of the issues. By the way, I have a series of videos which are a part of a vitamin D course which I am hosting outside of YouTube, and the reason I am doing this is because YouTube does not like a whole lot of my videos related with vitamin D. Honestly, I don't know why. My videos, the information I talk about vitamin D, this is all rooted in science, because I am referring to published research, right? Medical research papers that are published in reputable medical journal. But sometimes YouTube does not like it. So I decided to put all this information in a series of videos, and I'm hosting it on my own personal website. So that means nobody can censor me. And if you are interested, you can check out that video. It's in the video description below. So the first myth is that you can get all the vitamin D that you need just from sunlight. So if you go out in the sun and if you spend 15-20 minutes, maybe half an hour in sun, that's good enough. You will get all your vitamin D that you want and you don't need to worry about vitamin D. Now this is absolutely not true. Even if you live in a place where you get plenty of sunlight, so for example, I live in Northern California and here we mostly have blue skies. We have very good weather, plenty of sunlight, but I was still vitamin D deficient. So just because you live in an area where there is plenty of sunlight, that does not automatically mean that you are getting all the vitamin D that your body wants. While sunlight is a natural source of vitamin D, there are several factors that can impact the effectiveness of sunlight in providing adequate vitamin D levels. So the first factor that you have to take into consideration is your geographical location. So the angle at which the sunlight reaches the Earth's surface, it is influenced by where you live. So for example, if you live in the equator or near the equator, then the sunlight is going to be more direct throughout the year, and this will provide optimal conditions for vitamin D synthesis. In contrast, if you live in region away from the equator, then you are going to experience lower sun angles, and this will be especially true during winters, and this can lead to reduced UVB radiation, which means you will not be making enough vitamin D. So people who live in regions with less sunlight, especially during the winter months, they will find it very challenging to get enough vitamin D solely from the sun. You can spend the entire day out in the sun and you may still be deficient in vitamin D. The other thing that you have to consider is the sunscreen use. So sunscreen is essential for protecting your skin from harmful UV radiations, and they also help in reducing the risk of skin cancer. However, using sunscreen, especially the ones with high SPF, they limit the skin's ability to produce vitamin D because they are blocking the UVB radiation. And the very UVB radiation that can potentially cause you skin cancer, that same UVB radiation is used by our body to synthesize vitamin D. So it's a double-edged sword, and you have to make the right balance. How much time you can spend in sun to get adequate vitamin D while also reducing the risk of not getting skin cancer. Another thing that you have to consider is that individuals with dark skin color, so someone like me who has more pigmentation, so that means they have more melanin in their skin, they will have a reduced ability to synthesize vitamin D when exposed to the same amount of sunlight. So for example, my wife has a much fairer skin color than me. So if me and my wife, if both of us are spending half an hour in sun, maybe that half an hour is good enough for her and she can get all the vitamin D that she needs, while I will be deficient in vitamin D. So one size does not fit all. And if you're a person of dark skin color, then you will have to keep this in mind. You can spend a lot of time in sun and you may still be deficient in vitamin D because your body is just not synthesizing vitamin D regardless of how much sun you are getting exposed to. Also keep in mind the time of the day. So our body is more efficient at producing vitamin D when exposed to sunlight during midday. However, prolonged exposure during peak sunlight hours may increase the risk of skin damage and skin cancer. So you are always trying to balance this. You need to get exposure to sunlight, but you don't want to get skin cancer. And this balance, right, this is not easy, and that's why I would recommend taking supplements. Now I personally take 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 and I also take 100 mcg of vitamin K2 in the form of MK7. Now a lot of you must be wondering, why am I taking such a high dosage of vitamin D3? And that's because I have this autoimmune condition which depletes my vitamin D levels, and I talk a lot about all this in some of my other videos and also in my course, which I will link in the video description below. But remember one thing, you need to have your vitamin D serum level at around 60 nanograms per milliliter. And to get there, some people may just need 2000 or 3000 IUs of vitamin D3 and some people may need more. So if you are somebody like me, you will need 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3. You should think in terms of what is my vitamin D3 level now and where do I need to get. So say you are at 30 nanograms per milliliter and you need to get to 60 or 65 nanograms per milliliter, then how much vitamin D3 supplement you need to take. Also keep in mind your age. As people age, their skin becomes less efficient in synthesizing vitamin D from sunlight. And personally, I have experienced this. When I was in my 20s, I never had vitamin D deficiency. But by the time I hit 40, my vitamin D levels had depleted. So definitely as you get older, the same amount of exposure to sun will not produce the same amount of vitamin D. So the second myth is that vitamin D deficiency only affects your bone health. Now vitamin D is crucial for maintaining healthy bones. That is true because vitamin D is aiding in the absorption of calcium and it is promoting bone mineralization. But vitamin D's impact extends beyond bone health. It does a whole bunch of other things, and I personally did not know about any of this until I was diagnosed with vitamin D deficiency. So like I mentioned at the beginning of my video, I started experiencing chronic fatigue. But something else that I experienced was my mental health. I started feeling depressed. I felt down. I just, I lost motivation to do things. And this behavior was actually because I was deficient in vitamin D. If you have very low vitamin D levels, you start feeling depressed. There is enough published medical research data that points out towards, mental health issues, a correlation between mental health and a lack of vitamin D. So if you have vitamin D's deficiency and if you feel down and depressed, start taking supplements and raise your vitamin D serum level. So let's talk about other benefits of vitamin D outside of bone health. So the first benefit is immune system. So vitamin D plays a very vital role in modulating the immune system. Deficiency in vitamin D has been associated with an increased risk of infections and also autoimmune diseases. So personally, I suffer from an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's, and when I found out that I was suffering from Hashimoto's, at that time my TPO, which is the thyroid peroxidase antibody, which is a measure of how bad your Hashimoto is, it was very high and my vitamin D levels were very low. So then once I started taking vitamin D supplements and I was able to raise my vitamin D serum level to about 65 nanograms per milliliter, my TPO levels, which were these antibodies which were causing inflammation in my system, and that's why I was having all these problems, those antibodies started going down. So I have clearly seen in my case that just by increasing my vitamin D supplementation so that I was able to raise my vitamin D serum level, I was able to calm down my autoimmune condition. And this is not just relegated to this particular autoimmune condition that I'm talking about, which is Hashimoto's. There are many other autoimmune conditions which have a direct correlation with vitamin D deficiency. There is enough published research in this area, and I talk a lot about this in my course. I have covered this in real detail. I have actually gone through many research papers and I have summarized all that information. So if you guys are interested in learning more more about it, check the link in the video description below and you will be able to sign up for my course. My first video is completely free, so you can watch that video and it will give you a complete outline of the course, and then you can decide if you want to watch the rest of the videos. So coming back to vitamin D helps support the body's defense mechanism against various pathogens. So that includes virus, bacteria, and that means that if you are deficient in vitamin D and if you get some kind of viral infection, say flu, COVID-19, you can actually fall sick quite badly. And we already know in case of COVID-19 that folks who were deficient in vitamin D, when they got infected with COVID-19, either they had a horrible time, they were hospitalized for many weeks or months, or in some cases they passed away. But folks who had high vitamin D serum level in their blood, when they were hit with COVID-19 virus, either they got mildly sick or in some cases nothing happened. So vitamin D is doing a lot more than just making your bones stronger. The next thing that vitamin D will help you with is your cardiovascular health. Emerging research suggests that there is a connection between vitamin D deficiency and cardiovascular diseases. Adequate levels of vitamin D may have a protective effect on your cardiovascular system because it helps to regulate blood pressure and it helps to reduce the risk of heart-related issues and diseases. The third thing that vitamin D will help you with is mood and mental health. So I already spoke about my personal experience with this. I was feeling down and I was feeling kind of depressed, and turned out that I was severely low in vitamin D. And you must have heard of people in winter kind of feeling down or depressed, especially in countries where they have long winters and you don't get a lot of sunlight. And folks who live in these countries, say for example UK or some of these places here in US like Seattle or Oregon, where I used to live a while back, these places don't get enough sunlight during winter season, and so people kind of feel depressed, and there is a correlation. The reason they feel depressed is because their vitamin D serum level in their blood, it is dropping because they're not getting any sunlight. So vitamin D has an effect on your mood and on your mental health. There is evidence linking vitamin D deficiency to mood disorders and to seasonal affective disorder, which is also known as SAD. The exact mechanism are not fully understood, but it is believed that vitamin D receptors in our brain, they play a role in mental well-being. And I find this information fascinating. Literally, the neurons in our brain, they have vitamin D receptor. So that means that when you consume vitamin D supplements, or if you increase your vitamin D serum level in your blood by spending a lot of time in the sunlight, that extra vitamin D serum level in your blood, that is actually going to impact how your brain functions. Each neuron in your brain is capable of attaching to the vitamin D molecule. They have a receptor which connects to the vitamin D molecule. So it's like a lock and a key kind of thing, and that will change your mood and it will actually improve your mental health. So I think this is fascinating. You don't need these drugs, these psychotropic drugs, or these medicines that doctors prescribe, which have all kinds of side effects if you are feeling depressed. All you need is a vitamin D in a lot of cases, right? If you are deficient in vitamin D, maybe the first thing you need to do is go increase your vitamin D serum level in your blood, bring it to about 60-65, and in my case that fixed my depression and my bad mental health. I was feeling down. That fixed it. Now I'm not trying to minimize this. I'm not saying that every kind of mental health problem you can fix with vitamin D. That would be irresponsible if I say that. So of course, in some cases you will have to go talk to a doctor and maybe you will need other kinds of drugs. I'm not denying that, but start with the basics, right? If you feel like you get up in the morning, you feel like you have no motivation, you feel depressed, everything in your life is going good, but you still feel down, maybe you are deficient in vitamin D. So go get a vitamin D test, find out where you stand. If your vitamin D serum level is really low, then I guess the first thing you can do is start taking vitamin D supplements. Now the next advantage of vitamin D is that it reduces cancer risk. There are studies that have explored the link between vitamin D deficiency and increased risk of certain types of cancer, including breast cancer, prostate cancer, and colon cancer. So this is a fascinating area of research. A lot of doctors are still studying this, but there seems to be a correlation between vitamin D deficiency and chances of getting these cancers. Vitamin D is also involved in muscle function, and the deficiency of vitamin D may contribute to muscle weakness and pain. This is particularly relevant in older adults where vitamin D deficiency can be a factor in falls and fractures. Vitamin D also has an effect on autoimmune disorders. So I already spoke about my personal experience with this. We know that vitamin D may influence the development of autoimmune autoimmune disorders such as multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, and type 1 diabetes. So if you suffer from these diseases, it's a good idea to go check your vitamin D levels and see if your vitamin D levels are in healthy range. If not, then you should start taking supplements, and most likely this will help you fight your autoimmune condition. Next is chronic diseases. So there is ample research that suggests that maintaining optimal vitamin D levels may have a protective effect against chronic diseases, and this includes diabetes, hypertension, and certain inflammatory conditions. So the third biggest myth is that 30 nanograms per milliliter of vitamin D serum level in your blood, that's good enough. This myth revolves around the idea that a vitamin D serum level of 30 nanograms per milliliter is sufficient for overall health, and there is no need to aim for higher levels. And this cannot be further from the truth. So many doctors are responsible for spreading this myth, including my own personal doctor. So I will tell you this story. 3-4 years back, when I first had my my blood test, and that included a vitamin D test, my vitamin D serum level was 13 nanogram per milliliter, 13. So it was really low. But my doctor was following an old chart, and according to that chart, if you are 20, then that's good enough. So 20 was what he was saying is good. So he said, yeah, you are low, but it's okay, you're not that low. So let me give you 1000 IUs of vitamin D supplementation. You take this, take it for like 1 month, and from 13 you will get to 20. Once you're at 20, it should be all good. So I followed his advice. I mean, at that time I was not really researching about vitamin D, so I just trusted my doctor. I started taking 1000 IUs of vitamin D, and my level did increase. I got close to 20, but my conditions did not improve at all. I was still suffering from chronic fatigue. I would get tired and exhausted. I had no energy. By afternoon I was like done. I couldn't do anything, and I experienced mental fogginess. My brain kind of felt like I couldn't focus on my work, so it was affecting my performance at work. So it was really bad. And then later it turned out that even 20 nanogram per milliliter is actually vitamin deficient. So some doctors use this old chart that was almost it's based on studying children who had rickets. So these are young children who would suffer from vitamin D deficiency, and at that time scientists started giving these children vitamin D supplements, and what they found was once their vitamin D level was around 20, then they would not have this deformity in their bones. So that's how this level was established, that you need 20 nanograms per milliliter. That's the minimum level that you need to not have deformity in your bones. But we know that vitamin D does so much more than just bone health. So you cannot stop at 20 nanograms per milliliter. In fact, the Vitamin D Council recommends 40 to 80 nanograms per milliliter for most individuals. So that's the healthy range, from 40 to 80. Ideally, you should be somewhere in the middle, so around 60 or 65 nanograms per milliliter. Now, the ideal vitamin D level can vary among individuals based on factors such as age, health status, and also your geographical location. Some people may require higher levels to support specific health outcomes, and I am one of those cases because I have this autoimmune condition. So I am actually keep maintaining a high vitamin D level, and therefore I need 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 supplementation. Now this may not apply to you, and like I said before, one size does not fit all. But remember this in mind, when you get a vitamin D test, and if your level is like 16 or 17 nanogram per milliliter, or maybe you are 20 or little over 20 nanogram per milliliter, and your doctor says, hey, that's good, you are healthy. No, that's not good. 20 is actually deficient. You need to be much higher than 20. If you want to get the benefit of vitamin D in conditions like autoimmune, improving your immune system response, cardiovascular health, mood regulation, then you need higher levels of vitamin D. So if you want to learn more about vitamin D, then please check out my course. It's linked in the video description below. There is a whole bunch of other information that I'm not going to talk in this video because, like I said before, in the past when I spoke about these things, YouTube either demonetized my video or it flat out buried my video. The algorithm stopped promoting this, and I realized that YouTube does not like me talking about anything outside of mainstream science or the established vitamin D guidelines. So even though the things that I'm saying are backed by scientific research, for whatever reason YouTube doesn't like it. So I'm hosting those videos on my own personal platform, and obviously that costs some money. So unfortunately I can't provide those videos for free, and it kind of sucks, I know guys, but that's the way it is. Now I'm not charging a lot of money, guys. I'm not doing this to make money. I just need to pay for the hosting fee, so I'm charging a nominal fee for my course. And if you are interested, check out the link. The first video is actually free, and the first video will give you a complete outline of what the course is about. So I would recommend that you give it a chance. At least watch the first video and see if you find the content useful, and if you do, then sign up for the course. In addition to the videos, I'm providing 10 PDF copies of papers. These are medical research papers that were published in reputable medical journals, so you get free copy of all those papers. I'm also including an ebook that I wrote last summer about vitamin D. So that book usually goes for like $10. I sell it on my website, but I will give it to you for free if you sign up for this course. And in addition, there are some other goodies, including a flowchart that will help you decide if you have any kind of autoimmune condition or if you're suffering from chronic fatigue. It will help you make a self-diagnosis, and you can use that information to talk to your doctor. So all that is linked in the video description below. Let me know if you found this video useful. Please subscribe to my channel, because I plan to post a lot more content about health, especially vitamin D, and any new research that I found about vitamin D. I'm going to share it on this channel. So please subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.